Leaks can kill a movie before it even hits theaters. Millions of dollars, years of work, gone in an instant. But how do these leaks actually happen? It wasn't always this easy. Before the digital age, stealing a movie meant physically grabbing reels or tapes. Now, unfinished films sit on hard drives worldwide, and with just one wrong click or a single security breach, a movie can leak online weeks or even months before release. More often than not, this spells disaster for a film. However, there have been some rare instances where a leak does the unthinkable. Instead of sinking a movie, it skyrockets its success, propelling it to levels it might never have reached otherwise. And the best example of that came in 2014 when Sony Pictures got hit with one of the most devastating hacks in Hollywood history. A group calling themselves Guardians of Peace infiltrated Sony's servers and started dumping everything. Leaked emails ripped through the industry, exposing brutal behind-the-scenes drama. Sony co-chair Amy Pascal was caught making racially insensitive jokes about Barack Obama, joking about what movies he might like. Django Unchained, 12 Years a Slave. The backlash was instant, and she resigned months later. Then came the financial leaks. It was revealed that Jennifer Lawrence and Amy Adams were paid significantly less than their male co-stars in American Hustle, fueling outrage over Hollywood's gender pay gap. And then the movies themselves leaked. Fury, the Brad Pitt war drama, hit torrent sites weeks before release, costing Sony millions in lost revenue. Annie, the family-friendly reboot, was pirated early, leading to fears that parents wouldn't take their kids to see it in theaters. Even Still Alice, a small indie film that would later earn Julianne Moore an Oscar, was leaked, risking its entire awards campaign. The real target? A Seth Rogen and James Franco comedy about assassinating Kim Jong-un, a movie that would soon spiral into an international crisis. At first, The Interview looked like just another leaked movie, until U.S. intelligence linked the hack to North Korea itself. Suddenly, this wasn't about piracy. It was an act of cyber warfare, but threats of violence started surfacing. Theaters pulled out. Sony, fearing potential attacks, canceled the film's wide release altogether. The U.S. government condemned North Korea, and cybersecurity experts warned that Hollywood had just become a battleground for digital warfare. But, ironically, The Interview, a movie that might have come and gone with average success, turned into a global symbol of free speech. Demand skyrocketed. Sony eventually released it online and in select theaters, where it made $40 million from digital rentals alone, a record at that time. A cyber attack meant to bury a movie had the opposite effect, and it made it a cultural phenomenon. This wouldn't be the last time a leaked film took an unexpected turn. But The Interview wasn't the first time a major Hollywood blockbuster got torched before it even had a chance. Flashback to 2009, and one of the worst leaks in film history hits 20th Century Fox. A leak so damaging it cost the studio millions, wrecked its reputation, and triggered an FBI investigation. The victim? X-Men Origins Wolverine. 1 month before release, a work print cut of the film surfaced online. But this wasn't just a low-quality cam rip or a sloppy internal leak. This was a full, high-definition version of the movie. Well, almost. The leak was unfinished, with entire action sequences lacking CGI, actors dangling from visible harnesses, and green screens completely unedited. And it spread like wildfire. Fans ripped it apart, calling out the shoddy effects, awkward editing, and clunky story, not realizing this was a work-in-progress version, not the final cut. The criticism exploded across forums and blogs, giving the movie a disastrous reputation before it even hit theaters. Then, the critics jumped in. Wolverine was already facing scrutiny as a prequel no one really asked for, and now reviewers were writing it off before they even saw the completed film. The hype turned toxic, and by the time the movie actually released, the damage was irreversible. For 20th Century Fox, it was a financial disaster. The film still debuted at #1, but industry analysts estimated the leak cost the studio tens of millions of dollars in revenue. And more importantly, it shattered trust in the X-Men franchise. The planned Wolverine trilogy? Scrapped. The studio had to completely rethink its approach, and eventually pivoting toward Logan years later. The FBI launched an immediate investigation, tracking the leak to Gilberto Sanchez, a New York man who had uploaded the work print to a file-sharing site. He was arrested, pleaded guilty, and was sentenced to 1 year in federal prison. But one arrest couldn't undo the damage. The movie had already imploded before it even got a fair shot. What should have been a major superhero blockbuster became a cautionary tale, one that showed just how brutal a leak can be in the digital age. And as bad as this was, it wasn't the last time a major studio got held hostage by hackers. You'd think that after the Wolverine disaster, studios would have learned their lesson. But just a few years later, another blockbuster leak sent Hollywood into chaos, this time targeting one of the most powerful studios on the planet. In 2014, Sony wasn't the only victim of cyber attacks. That same year, a massive Marvel leak threw the entire MCU into disarray. The highly anticipated Avengers Age of Ultron was still months away from release when suddenly the first official trailer hit the internet early. And this wasn't a controlled marketing drop. The leak came from an unknown source, completely blindsiding Marvel and Disney. The studio scrambled to contain the damage, trying to wipe the footage from the internet, but once something leaks online, it's already too late. Instead of panicking, Marvel made a brilliant move. They owned the moment, officially releasing the trailer themselves in high quality, along with a single tweet. Damn it, Hydra. Fans ate it up. The leak, instead of hurting the movie, became one of the most talked about moments of the MCU's marketing cycle. It built insane hype, and by the time Age of Ultron finally hit the theaters, it pulled $1.4 billion worldwide, proving that sometimes a leak doesn't kill a film. Sometimes it makes it unstoppable. But not every studio has that kind of luck. For every Age of Ultron that survives a leak, there's a Wolverine that gets torn apart before it even stands a chance. And one of the worst was still to come. In 2017, another massive leak rocked Hollywood, this time targeting one of its biggest franchises. A group of hackers, calling themselves the Dark Overlord, claimed to have stolen Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Men Tell No Tales. Their demand? A ransom in Bitcoin. Yar, pay up, or they'd leak the entire film online before it ever hit theaters. It wasn't just talk. The group had already leaked unaired episodes in Netflix's Orange is the New Black after a similar ransom demand was ignored. Now they were threatening Disney's billion-dollar franchise. But Disney, they weren't playing games. The studio refused to acknowledge the hackers publicly, let alone pay. Security teams scrambled to contain the breach, while Disney's top execs stood firm. They called the hackers' bluff. And then, silence. The movie never leaked. Maybe Disney's security shut it down from behind the scenes. Maybe the Dark Overlord never had the movie to begin with. Either way, the message was clear. Even the biggest studios aren't untouchable. And as leaks became more frequent, more aggressive, and more damaging, Hollywood realized that sometimes there's nothing you can do except brace for impact. But what if a leak didn't just damage a movie? It made it louder than ever. Enter Deadpool. In 2014, a test footage of the film, which was never meant to see the light of day, somehow found its way online. It was rough, unfinished, and completely unpolished. But instead of causing the usual chaos, something unexpected happened. Fans lost their minds. The internet went wild, flooding social media with demands for a full movie. People wanted more of that R-rated fast-talking anti-hero, and suddenly the studios had no choice but to listen. Within months, Deadpool was green-lit, and it turned into one of the most successful R-rated films of all time, grossing over $783 million globally. Even today, there's still a belief among some that the leak wasn't a mistake or a hack, but a deliberate marketing stunt. A guerrilla campaign to build hype before the studio even realized what they had. If that was the plan, it was one of the smartest moves in modern Hollywood marketing. Because sometimes a leak doesn't kill a movie, it creates an unstoppable force. Of course, not all leaks are about getting a movie out early. Some are just about spoiling the experience. Take Avengers Endgame, the decade's biggest film, for example. Ahead of its release, spoilers ran wild. It wasn't just plot details. Entire scenes started leaking online. Major deaths, the final battle, surprising moments, all of it was out there on Twitter, Reddit, and YouTube. Marvel fans found themselves dodging spoilers like landmines, trying to avoid the shocking reveals that were meant to have maximum emotional impact. In response, Disney launched an all-out damage control effort, starting the hashtag #Don'tSpoilTheEndgame to beg fans to keep quiet. But for those who'd already seen the leaks, the emotional punch of Endgame's most dramatic moments had already been diluted. Despite the damage, Endgame still went on to become the biggest movie of the decade, but it's safe to say that those leaks definitely toyed with the audience's emotions. And the identity of the leaker? It's still a mystery. Some point to early foreign screenings, while others suspect there may have been a mole within the production. So, what's next for Hollywood? Have they accepted that leaks aren't just a problem, but part of the game? Be sure to share your thoughts in the comments. Until next time.